Here it is, the very best seed of 2024 so far, and indeed here are 6 others which are rated by users from the Minecraft Seed subreddit and verified by my team. These are all brand new discoveries, and with just one exception, they've all been uncovered in just the last 30 days. This one is better than Archeology, this is a beautiful new style challenge, and these 3 are all infinitely repeating. These are the 7 best seeds of 2024, and for your convenience you can skip around the timestamps in the description, or you could just check out this first seed, which looks like it's a good enough spawn by itself. You've got a savanna, you've got a forest, you've got a village over there, as well as a mesa biome, but it's even better because if you take a second look at that village, you'll see it's not just a village, but a village and a desert temple, and a village and a desert temple with an outpost combined, and also there's a shipwreck, and also a ruined portal. These are always hilarious seeds, and they're always a nice little boost to the beginning, but in case you're looking for something a little bit longer term, then good news, this second seed is just wonderful. This is a survival island seed, and if you're curious as to why that's a classic in the seed genre, it's because everyone loves the idea of being spawned on an island where your resources are much more limited. Minecraft is an infinite world, but what if it wasn't that way? And usually survival islands are just a single, a few pieces of grass, a single tree, and some sugarcane. This seed is a little bit nicer, giving you 2 types of tree, as well as some sand, as well as lots and lots of flowers, but here is the beauty of it. It's not just survival island in that it's a long way to another island, it's survival island in that it's an insane distance to anywhere else. I have my render distance turned up to 90 chunks, so about 1500 blocks away is how far we can see, and all I can really get my eyes on is this iceberg biome all the way out there, and just about maybe a desert at the very edge there. In other words, over 1,000 blocks of isolation. This is really fun for the early game, where of course surviving is going to be that little bit harder, but it's even better later on in the game because you have to build all the land that you want to build on. This makes it really great for a big group project or just a hard survival challenge, something I know a lot of my subscribers would appreciate. But you know what else my subscribers would probably appreciate? This next seed. The reason for that is because Seed 5 really is the one that proves that as much as Mojang can try to make content all they like, and they're very successful with things like Archeology, there are all sorts of things that seeds will do, that randomness will do, that will create things that are just much more compelling to the average user, and this is such a great example of that. Look at this jungle, and look at what is just behind it with that weird, sandy dunes to the right of it. This is an interesting sight by itself to see so close to spawn. It already reminds us of the console edition days, which, if we're being honest, one of the big glories of that was how wild some of the seeds could be, but what's even wilder is when we get close to this woodland mansion, because will you look at that, there is a desert temple hanging out in the base of this giant woodland mansion. This is a funny enough thing by itself, but you know what makes it crazier? The fact that right next to it, you'll find what looks like the corner of a village, except instead of villager houses, there's just an iron golem trapped in a box. This is wild by itself, but do you know what causes this? One of the weirdest things I've ever seen on a Minecraft seed, again, really the biggest throwback I've seen in a while, because this is just a few blocks in the wall here, assuming we're in the right space, a creeper. Well, I mean, this is a woodland mansion, so it makes sense, except wait, no, that's not a, you don't find these guys in a woodland mansion. In fact, the woodland mansion is all the way up there. There is a pillager outpost hanging out just in the middle here, and you can mine your way right into it. So again, I think this is fun enough by itself, but to show you the archaeology potential this seed brings you, perhaps the most of any seed Minecraft has ever had, including the ones they spent several months updating for, but this is a desert temple. I think that's clear to anyone from the outside, but look around this desert temple and then mine a few of the blocks. Actually, I think we'll come through here and then we'll go over through that. And there's a random stone pillar here for some reason. There's also a few skeletons, which, that's okay. Being attacked by skeletons is part of life, I think you'll find sometimes. But then if we decide to just poke out over here, maybe destroy a few blocks, we'll find there's also some netherrack in here. And I think this is the weirdest set of terrain gen I've ever seen. Looking for hay bales in the basis of a mansion makes you realize that the villagers, the illagers rather I should say, are not just people who are evil because they plunder and they pillage the world. They're evil because they build their bases on top of all of these archaeological remains, which they clearly should be taking better care of. And so, have you ever wanted one of the most intense survival experiences? This is one of the coolest ones you can have. It gets more and more, I won't spoil everything that's inside there, but I will say this seed inspires me not just to do do some bizarre version of archaeology, but also it makes me think if that is so high up into the sky, there'd be a fun project in excavating the cobblestone. It's so rare in Minecraft that you get to mine cobblestone as opposed to stone, and so if you were to be dedicated and mine a whole layer of this, okay, I'll be honest with you, I expected that removing an entire layer of this would make it look even more intense. You need to remove a solid 10, 12, 15, 20 layers. You need to remove an insane amount of cobblestone in the tens of thousands of blocks, but then you could have a floating woodland mansion, and I think that would be pretty cool, especially if you could build terrain around it to make it look like it'd always been there. But in case you like the idea of floating things and don't want to have to work, then how about this jungle over here, which has a bunch of floating islands in it? This is such a magical, mystical seed with mangrove swamp, jungle, desert, all hanging next to each other, and even better, one of the rare and elusive types of blacksmith chests, because finding this in a taiga is common, finding it in a plains, you know, it happens, but finding it in a desert, that's a rare treat if you ask me. I think that this is an example of a rare structure collision that's not just a fun thing to look at, and it definitely is that too, what the heck is happening here, but it's also got some really decent long-term potential, which is why I think a lot of people are also looking for, because who doesn't want a long-term survival world? Well, if that is you, then this next seed might be particularly interesting, because as you can see, you spawn in a cherry grove, and this seed offers you instant gratification, not just in terms of getting one of the prettiest colors of wood, but immediately, but also in terms of what is immediately below the surface. And if you're curious, let me show you what it is, because you could get weeks or months worth of amethyst within just a small mining trip because of the ridiculous number of these that you can find. Admittedly, amethyst geodes aren't the rarest structure in the game. You can usually find a couple in a very big cave, but to have one, and then two, and then three, and you know, honestly, I could try and prove a point here, but instead let's count real fast. After a short break for this lush cave, which by the way looks stunning with the amethyst geode, that is 40 separate amethyst geodes I count. However, there is more than 1,000 in a direct row right here, which you can get to by just mining diagonally from one to the other to the other. This is a pretty cool seed, right? You might think that you've seen this somewhere already if you recognize what is causing this to happen, but just in case you haven't, let's quickly move into the third seed first. The third best rated seed of 2024 is one that I can see why people love, even just immediately from spawning. You have this swamp valley where there's a forest next to you and then a big mountain next to that, and then look directly behind you and you'll see there is a big floating island. This is beautiful for any Sky Island survival attempts, and a big reason why is there's not just one, not two, but 3 separate types of tree up here, as well as the ability for animals to actually spawn. You could make a really decent survival and have one of the best views of the world while doing so. And oh, what is that over there? There's a boat very clearly in land, and also something next to it that's kind of hard to distinguish. Let's go closer and work out what it is. Oh, that's interesting. This ship is fully unwrecked, and also it is right next to a village house. It's kind of rare that you get turtles on your doorstep, but that's fun enough. I guess there's nothing else worth mentioning besides maybe that there's a ruined portal right where a pillager outpost would have been. It is wild the collision levels that you can get in Minecraft Bedrock if you're just willing to search all of the possibilities, because this pillager outpost spawned exactly where this ruined portal spawned, which was already right on top of the village and already overwriting some of its blocks, and that leads for one of the craziest, most chaotic opportunities you can have. But for me, it means you can get some flint, it means you can get some iron from the ship, and also enjoy the villagers, and I guess the alley too if you really feel like it. I think this is an absolute win if you like weird situations, and even better, after the wolf update, this one gets a big boost. This is a very, very strange seed in so many ways, it has to be said, but yeah, I think one of my personal favorites is this little bonus potion you'll get while you can watch the view out your window. Isn't that nice? Anyway, at this point, I would love to spend more time telling you about the craziness of these structure collisions, but the second most upvoted seed of 2024 so far is a very interesting one, because it might give you some deja vu, both from this channel in general, but also, indeed, from literally the 4th best seed. The second best seed of 2024 is another infinitely repeating seed, and it's one that honestly on the surface looks decent enough by itself. There's a village near spawn, there's also an ocean ruin. However, if you look below the world, you'll notice something interesting happening, and that is that almost every minor terrain generation feature will repeat endlessly. This is something that just kind of looks a bit repetitive at first, but as soon as someone points it out to you, you can't unsee it, because look at this cave for example, the exact dimensions of it will repeat one chunk away over here, and then again over here, and then you start to look down and you see that it goes as far as the eye can see. Basically, every structure that isn't a major one, like a village or a desert temple, will repeat endlessly. Sadly, even if you could find a seed for these, they wouldn't be able to repeat because of minimum distances, but some structures don't have those, like the desert well, and so let me show you a village with not one desert well, not two desert wells or three, but instead an infinite chain going right next to each other. And I think it'd be fair to ask at this point, how does this happen? How is it that infinitely repeating seeds is a category? And keep in mind, this has gone back quite a bit. They were thought to go away after the 1.18 update, but they have since come back. And the easiest way to think about this is that there are two bits of random that tell Minecraft where it should generate structures. One is your seed, that really big long character code, which you have to type in for any of these, and the other is the coordinates in your world. And let's make a really basic assumption, like if the end of that, so let's do an equation where you just multiply those two numbers together, and if the answer to that equation ends with a 0, then you'll place a desert well there. This is a pseudo-random way to ensure that 1 in 10 chunks would have a desert well. It's actually 1 in 1,000, but just follow me here. But imagine if there was a way to guarantee that every single time it did that equation, it would result in ending it with a 0. Well, that's very hard to do unless you know the exact right answer. An example would be 0, for example. 0 times any number will always be 0, and so you can guarantee that should there be a desert well? Yes, there should be. Should there be a desert well? Yes, there should be. Should there be a desert well? And every single time the game is asking whether it should generate a desert well, the seed and the coordinates are replying yes. That is the simplest way to imagine this. Again, we were to abstract it quite far away, and it's incredible to see for stuff like this, but there is just one example which is even better yet. The very best and most upvoted seed of all of 2024 is one that has gone absolutely viral. You might have even seen this because it has infinite mineshafts found immediately at spawn. This was one of the coolest, most broken seeds that existed before Minecraft changed their world gen, and so you might be excited if you choose to load this world up and expect to go into your mineshaft and find that it will go on forever. Interestingly, this bug used to be one which you could find on any Minecraft world, not just on select seeds for Minecraft Bedrock, and so weirdly enough, my Let's Play world has one, but if you look at this particular seed, you can see that the mineshaft is in fact not infinite. It has some pretty cool things in it, like this spawner, or indeed like this spawner, but it is not an infinite mineshaft because infinite mineshafts do not exist on Bedrock. Even though this exact seed has all of these cool images attached to it, you won't find anything when you load up this world because this is an infinite, the infinite mineshafts are a Java only phenomenon, and so if you see these images, you know you're looking at, say, Java seed. This is really, really sad because it used to be a bug that could occur on Bedrock, but they fixed it over here and not over there, leading to a very interesting difference in behavior where if you want infinitely repeating seeds on Bedrock, you're limited to getting infinitely repeating geodes, and those can be pretty fun by themselves too. I mean, the number of these that you'll find in a row and a row and a row is very, very satisfying. The same is true for any of these other caves, but any major game-changing feature is actually fixed, and I think there is a wider question to be asked about this, and that question is of if Mojang can fix world generation bugs, should they actually do so? For every other video game on the planet, when this question is asked, the answer is really, really simple. It's yes, of course you should, why would you not want to? However, for Minecraft, you have a very interesting case of basically being able to do A/B testing, i.e. performing a, kind of an experiment on one group and testing it against the others, and there are lots of bugs that people are much happier being fixed. There is a reason we call it Minecraft Bug Rock sometimes. There are lots of bugs that exist on Bedrock and not Java that genuinely just make the player base unhappier. Random death bugs and stuff like this. No one is arguing that random death is a good thing, but then you get into the category of things that are probably sort of good, like building on the Nether, and these are the things that players on one version that has it start to be jealous of the other one. But then you have the case of things that are, things that are objectively broken, bugs that exist in a game that are so enjoyable that people wish they had them. It's not just, these are bugs that don't just exist and you randomly run into, they're ones you actively have to seek after, and if you do so, you get really good results. No one will find an infinite repeating seed by accident. There are quite a lot of them in existence, and ultimately, if you did find one, you might not even know it, because looking around this jungle, can you immediately even tell that the trees are repeating over and over again? Not unless you look at them from just the right angle, right? You might might just think it's a quirky Minecraft seed, so it doesn't affect anyone negatively, but people will go after it positively. It's the same thing when strongholds used to float on Bedrock or anything else. This is one of those bugs that Minecraft fixed and put a lot of effort into, but they accidentally made Minecraft worse, as proven by the fact that Java players have been sharing this everywhere, and for Bedrock players, it's a nice seed, but it's just that. It's nice. It is not the craziest seed you have checked out today. In fact, I would say that belongs to the Woodland Mansion. If there is one seed that I would be taking home from this video, it would be the giant Woodland Mansion with the Archeology in the basement, but that is because it has a bug which is exclusive to Bedrock and not to Java, and so in a weird way, for certain niches of the game, the more bugs Minecraft has, the better it gets. This isn't to say that Minecraft should add bugs to the game. I think that will never, you can never truly add a bug because it's almost defined as being an unintentional feature, but at the same time, it makes me wonder if maybe, just maybe, when you look at lists like this, you think that actually, maybe we should be encouraging exploration, and one of the ways you can do that is by having weirder outliers for your terrain behavior. Some of these can be intentional, but some of these are going to have to rely on seeing what happens and either, only nerfing it and, bringing down the most broken cases of it, or leaving it all alone altogether. As to how they're actually going to do it, that is a question I cannot answer on Mojang's behalf, but yeah, here is a Seed Sunday that got mildly philosophical for you. Sometimes you can make something better and actually make it worse. Sometimes less is more, and sometimes more is less. And speaking of that, I would like to get fewer subscribers, and so that means that you're going to need to subscribe to the channel, and, I don't know, try not to have a house fire at any point too soon to help my house fire statistics, because I hope you'll enjoy this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye. I'm gonna go eat a sandwich now. I'm excited. I love a good sandwich. There's like acceptable sandwiches, there's good sandwiches, and then there's the great ones. I feel like I'm in that third category today. I'm very, very excited. You don't need to hear about my sandwich, but now you did. Bye. Some people would say that I should eat the sandwich rather than recreating it in Minecraft, and those people would be right. Goodbye.